Mpact was spun off from Mondi and listed in 2011. It manufactures packaging products with particular focus on corrugated paper. It has a market cap of 2.8 billion, a price to earnings ratio of 32 and a dividend yield of 2.3%. So it's just recently listed on the JSE. Paul, like the intro said, it was spun off from Mondi. Your thoughts on the fact that it's standing alone now? Is it doing pretty well?
Well, it's the second wave, obviously, because Mondi was only spun out of Anglo-American 2 or 3 years prior to that. So yes, Mondi decided globally it wanted to be more involved with, paper and pulp and in Eastern Europe and Russia and all those kinds of places, Turkey. South Africa, the packaging business, they decided to float out. So it's a sizable operation, 2 to 3 billion rands worth of market cap. As you point out there, it seems to have had particular strength in the corrugated board stuff, which is, cardboard boxes that get sold to people for merchandising and distribution. And that is presumably because Mondi themselves in the past had a strong position in the manufacture of that. So it's got like 90% of its product base here in South Africa. I think they're also quite big in some of those PET, which is like, the Buddy Coke sized bottles. So, I mean, they seem to be quite well positioned. I think the market is still forming a view of what their sustainable earnings base is. Looking
at a price to earnings ratio of about 32, would you be going into a stock like this?
Well, look, I mean, the price to earnings, that number that you've got there, that's probably based on the reported numbers, but that doesn't take into account the debt that they still had coming out of that Mondi structure. If you adjust for that, the forward price to earnings multiple is a sub 10, it's probably about a 9.5. And Impact's got two main things going for it. First of all, in the cardboard side, what I said earlier is that in this industry you either have to be a large player or you have to be specialized. So they are one of the biggest players in the containerboard side. That gives them a lot of ability in the market to control costs, to absorb costs, to spread that volume over a larger asset base and bring down their per unit costs. Also on the plastic side, which is what Paul touched on, those businesses are running very inefficiently as no capex went into them while they were part of Mondi. So basically the business is going through a stage now of fixing up those businesses, and those margins are going to increase notably. I think at the moment they're sitting around 7%. The rest of the sector has plastic margins at around 10%. So over the next 2 to 3 years, if those margins can get there, you're going to see a nice uptick from that side of the business as well.
All of what you've said, Paul, if we look at the stock here,
well, just to clarify that point, so in other words, what Daniel is saying is when they did their pro forma earnings results before they were listed company, they had to take into certain account things which are no longer a factor in the business. So that factor alone, the fact that it sort of looks expensive with a high, historic price to earnings ratio, that'll come out in the wash. Because as you can see here, only on the market since 2011, and it sort of floated around. The nice thing about it, though, is that by way of being unbundled, it means that all of their shareholders are the shareholders historically of Mondi. So people will take a view and, kind of look at it. I think they could still have too many shareholders relative to the size of the company, but at least the liquidity is there. Some of the smaller companies we're going to talk about now have precious little turnover, where at least of this one you could accumulate a sizable position.
Accumulate a sizable position on that one, hot or not, Mpact?
We're hot on the stock. We've held it since it came out of Mondi. It came out at about 12.5 bucks. It's currently at about 17. So we're still hot on it, still think it's got some legs. I should just make one caveat that in terms of the box side of the business, they are exposed to fruit exports to Europe. Now we all know what's going on in Europe. If things there really get bad, I'm not sure how much more fruit they'll be eating. Maybe fruit is one of those things that they'll pay up for no matter how bad things get. But that's just one thing to keep in mind, but we are hot on it.
Hot. Paul?
Again, I'm going to say not hot on account of the sector being just a little bit tricky. Although with the closer investigation that one can do, you can pick up some gems, but I'm going not hot.
So Paul still not hot on this one. So Mpact not hot from Paul and hot from Daniel.